In this self-nip bobbly de baba dee ba doo doo. Alright, this podcast is called How to Time Travel Using Hypnosis and Sound Waves. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I use hypnosis and sound waves that I record. My brand is called Demi-Phase, which is short for demi-cerebral neural phasing. And I first publicized and talked about some of these techniques in a brainstorming rant called Neutralizing Naughty Narcissists, which you can listen. The link is here. If you're listening on UniquilibriuM.com, you can see it and listen to that. But this podcast, it refines the techniques and gives details about how to use them with a frequency formula specifically designed for exploring time travel through memory, emotion, and desire. And you can listen to the second recording that's featured here in the blog on UniquilibriuM.com and use it to attempt your own time travel adventure. So, I'm going to talk about a few things, maybe not all of them in this podcast, but some of the ways that you're going to use this is I'm going to tell you how to use the demi-phase recordings and some self-hypnosis techniques using the balance protocol, breathe, affirm, and listen. The amount of breaths I'll give you for this frequency formula for when you listen to it, it's called Time Travel 125. It's in the UniquilibriuM.com blog. The different ways to time travel using memory, emotion, and desire. And also to keep in mind that you may or may not have a time travel experience your first time. And so that's why I always like to let everyone know that it may take some time. You may need to do it a few times and learn how to get yourself into that state. And that's why I call sometimes this process is either called second wave, incremental thought change hypnosis, or sine wave incremental thought change hypnosis. The key part is incremental thought change. It's incremental. So it may not happen right away, but that's just another way of saying that practice makes perfect. And why would you want to time travel in your mind? Well, some people, for example, my first clients, when I was doing my clinical residency at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, were for past life regression, so you might want to view past lives of yourselves, or just travel into the past and explore things that may have happened before. This is related to remote viewing because you can view things remotely, not only in distance but also in time. You can move forward in time, you can move backwards in time. And some other reasons are because neurologically, on a physical level, our brain doesn't know the difference between things that we experience in our imagination, our dreams, and these other experiences that we can have in mind. So you can also learn things by traveling through time with your thoughts. And just a little bit of technology, my demi-phase audio recordings. And some of this technology is based on some of the reasons can be explained why it works is because of visual motor behavior rehearsal, in which research has been done showing that people who practice things in their mind, like for example basketball players shooting free throws, they would have a control group, for example, one group actually practicing physically doing free throws, one imagining that they were doing free throws, and another group not doing anything, not imagining or physically practicing the free throws. And it was found that the people who visualize and imagine improve their free throws almost as much as the people who physically practice them. And that's because the same nerves and same muscle nerves or motor neurons fire in the same exact way as if you're physically doing it when you imagine it. And you use creative imagination and visualization techniques. And then there's mirror neurons. You can also learn things because the same neurons fire in our body when we see someone else doing something. So these are just different ways that we can learn things. And then, there's a connection to, if you want to go deep, to ontological mathematics, which shows us how physical reality comes into being, which is simply an asymmetry of the neutrality of all of existence. When everything is symmetrical or neutral, then we don't have the experience of a physical reality. And when we can break that symmetry, that's how physical reality comes into being. And so using the demi-phase audios with some self-hypnosis, you can get through a physical means, through the listening to these audios, you can get both sides of your brain, both hemispheres of your brain, to synchronize with each other, which is based on the hemispheric synchronization technology, also known as hemisync. And when you can get your brain waves to synchronize with each other, the left and the right side of the brain to be synchronized with each other, basically both sides of your brain are going to be having like a handshake where they are both generating the same frequency of brainwaves. In this case, we're going to be in a theta brainwave stimulation with this audio, which at the high end of theta, which is 8 cycles per second. And you're also going to be breathing 8 times and saying the affirmation 8 times. Just a quick note to make this more clear. So the reason why I talked about ontological mathematics and then about demi-phase or the hemispheric synchronization is because they're basically one process undoes the other. So ontological mathematics shows us that if every force or every energy in the universe, which is basically mind, is neutral, we have a non-dimensional or a dimensionless existence, which is unextended. It's not space or time. It's outside of space and time. It has no length, no width, no height. It's a dimensionless point of pure frequency, but it's also eternal and infinite at the same time. But when that symmetry is broken, when it becomes asymmetrical, when the sinusoidal waves, for example, which all of reality is composed of, break symmetry, that's when we have the shared dream world or the experience of physical reality. And when you go from an asymmetrical brainwave state, which is very connected to thought and mind, right? When you go from an asymmetrical brainwave state and use demi-phase audios, for example, or other binaural beats in hemisync, and you synchronize your brainwaves and you gain that coherence or symmetry, that is what allows you to break free of the constraints of space and time and have experiences like time travel. So that's my very oversimplified working theory, but that's what we're working on doing. But it has to also be combined with the preparation of, you have to do the breathing and the affirmations, so that when you do break free of the constraints of space and time, you can have these different types of experiences of mind. And some of this other benefits are something that I put together before called an action-proof formula, which was an emotional incubation method and emotional activation system, which helps you to achieve and accomplish goals in the future with confidence. So now one last thing before I give you the exact technique and sign off here so that you can go and practice by yourself is to let you know that when it should be obvious, maybe not, but that traveling to the past is based on memory. And it's interesting that memory has the same frequency as time travel, as well as memory and time travel have the same frequency. And I do have an album I released. It's called Memory 89. I'll find some links. I know that You can find it right now on many different platforms. One of them I know right now that the recording is, you can find it on Amazon.com. Search Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander or just search Memory 89. And so that's another frequency formula you can use. And so memory has to do with, of course, the past. And desire is more inclined to having a future travel experience, because you desire to see something that's not yet there in this part of the timeline. And emotion is the center that drives all of that. When you can feel a confident emotion about your intention to travel to the past or to the future, or even the remote viewing aspect of it, because you're always going to be, most of the time, traveling to a different location in space. So we're talking about moving through space and time by using these techniques. So now we're going to get into the techniques that we use specifically. Okay. So in order to have the time travel experience, we have to use the audio recordings, the demi-phase recordings, properly. And so the first thing to do is to get yourself into a physically comfortable position for deep meditation or sleep. So you can get yourself into a comfortable chair, recliner, sofa, or even in your bed and recline or lie down and get yourself comfortable. Next thing, you're going to need headphones. And with the recording, you want to preset the volume so that it's comfortable for you to listen to while you're comfortably lying down or reclining. And so that's the first step, is to get yourself in a physically comfortable position, get the headphones on, and then adjust the volume. So you're going to preset the volume by listening to a part of the recording and getting it to a volume that's comfortable for you. And then once you've done that, then you're going to do the balance protocol, which is BAL, right? So first, for this specific recording, that's, as I said, included in this podcast, you are going to first breathe 8 times. But one very important thing that you must do is that after every breath, you're going to say the numbers 1 through 8, out either in your head or out loud. So for example, before you press play in the recording, you're going to breathe in and breathe out and say 1. Breathe in and breathe out and say the number 2. Breathe in, breathe out, say 3, all the way up to 8, and then stop. And once you've said that, then you're going to say the affirmation, which is very simple. You're just going to say time travel, 1, time travel, 2, time travel, 3, time travel, 4, and again all the way to 8. Once you've done that, then you press play on the recording, and this is the passive part where you listen and you continue to have that intention with either memory or desire to go to the past or to the future, and listen to the entire recording. It's 33 minutes, and that's all that you have to do. So again, the technique can be deceptively simple. So once again, get yourself in a comfortable position. Number 2, put on your headphones. Number 3, preset the volume by listening to the recording a little bit and then getting it to a comfortable volume. Once you've done that, you're going to breathe in and out and say 1, in and out and say 2, all the way to 8. Then you're going to say the affirmation, time travel, 1, time travel, 2, time travel, 3, once again, all the way to 8. Once you've done that, press play on the recording, listen, and get ready to have the experience. And that's it. It's as simple as that. That's all it takes. And again, just to remind you that it's something that if you don't have the experience right away, continue to practice. And there'll be more on this later about different ways that you can learn things from your experiences and why this works, and I'll go into more detail about that. But remember, it's an intention. Why are you doing it? And know that you can and will learn things if you just pay attention to the experience that you're having. So that's all for your this presentation on how to time travel using hypnosis and sound waves. All right, listeners all around the world, thanks for joining me for another adventure with metaphysical hypnosis and meditation. Your continued support is always welcome. And if you're excited about the great offerings here that help you relax, sleep, lucid dream, learn, and beyond, then support the creation of many more metaphysical hypnosis and meditation productions by becoming a monthly contributor. You can support these adventures with a subscription by going to UniquilibriuM.com and simply clicking on the link that says UniquilibriuM Supporters, and there you will find links that you can support through Anchor, through PayPal, or through Liberapay. You've been listening to the UniquilibriuM podcast by Hypno Athletics, Exercising Your Mind. My name is Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander. I'm your host and guide, and I will catch you on the next wave. Stay well.